Hello my fellow gardeners, and welcome back to Grow Leafy. I am mesmerizing this leaf mulch compost. I am going to tell you what I did to produce this great organic matter and how I will be using it in my garden. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, go on and do so, because I will be posting videos regularly for you. But let's get started with this video. Making the leaf compost mulch was very, very easy. I had to do absolutely nothing, literally nothing. It sat in a bag, a black plastic bag, for 8 months. And it sat in there for 8 months, longer than I really was probably supposed to leave it in there for. But I'm very busy. I work full time, I got a lot of things to do, and then I also have all this gardening that I do. And so I didn't have time to take it out within 5 months, like right after the winter season, because I just did not have time. And so it sat there for 8 months. Well, it only did better for it, but I could have taken it out after 5 months, after the winter season, during springtime. So how I made it, I had a plastic bag, and I will make another video in the fall when I get ready to do this again, because I'm definitely going to do it again. But I had a plastic bag, and I filled the plastic bag with leaves, dry leaves in the fall. But the thing about it is, the more you break the dry leaves down, the better it is, because then it decomposes a little bit quicker, and you don't want as many of those big, large clumps. And so I shredded the leaves down. Okay, I shredded it down, put it into a bag, filled up the garbage bag with it, and then just sprayed water, and then sealed it up, and then poked holes in the bottom of the bag so that any extra water would just drain out. And you know, since there's holes, if anything wanted to crawl up in there to help with the decomposition process, it could. And that is it. So in the fall, in October, is when I have all these leaves on my property that just falls down everywhere. And then that's when I go to scoop it up and to do this process. And then other things I use the leaves for, like closing down my raised beds and covering my beds with this same leaves that I used and shred down. And so now, because this is, let me put on my gloves, because this is so rich and there's so much moisture that was retained in it, it's broken down really lovely. I can use this to cover my raised bed gardens, to maintain and retain the moisture in the gardens, to also protect it from the extreme heat temperatures of the sun, protect it from the sun really, that tends to dry my soil out. So I can use it as a protective barrier. And then also it will feed my soil and add nutrition back into the soil. And as it continues to break down, it's only gonna enrich my soil. And so it's a win-win. It definitely is a win-win. I'm happy I did it. And I learned about this just from watching other gardeners that were doing this. And I just thought, well, let me try that this year. So I definitely will be doing this again in the fall. So let me show you the bag that I actually had, because I have one more bag. I know I have maybe a couple of other beds I need to cover up. And then I'm actually going to add anything that's remaining into my compost over here. There's still a lot of work that I haven't done with my compost, but I could throw it in there. That compost, I do not plan on using it until the fall, because I want to use that compost to put it on top of my raised beds so it continually also can feed my soil. All right, so let me pull that one bag into here. Actually, another thing I actually want to show you, since it's right over here anyways, is I had this basically in my raised bed aisles, okay? It is just a mulch that was in my raised bed aisles. Let me show you this. And it has broken down so much. And so if you watch my videos, you know that in the aisles, I have just broken pieces of mulch, right? That was dropped off for free. Trip Drop is a place that you can use where there's tree cutting companies that are just looking for places to drop off their mulch. And so basically I was able to get I was able to get this. And so this has been sitting in my raised bed for, not in my raised beds, but in the aisles around my raised beds for almost 2 years. And so what I've been using it for now is putting it on top of raised beds to protect it as well, the same way I would use a leaf mulch. I can add this into starting up a compost because I'm gonna need to start up a compost because I have so much extra. And so I can use it for really cool things. So the bag was just set off back here. It was actually in another spot. Then we moved it at some point because we had to cut the grass because I wasn't ready to clean it up. But this bag, good, it didn't break. Some of the bags were starting to tear and just break down because it's plastic and it was just starting to break down. And so this one, luckily it's not too heavy, it's not gonna break. And I'm just going to shake it off, make sure there's probably a lot of buds on it, and drop it in here. So I'm just gonna open it up. As you can see, it's just busting open, right? Things are just, bugs just crawling out of it because I'm disturbed their nice sleeping area. So who knows what might be in here? You know, it's been sitting for a minute. I'm gonna open it up. There could be worms in here, I don't know. I definitely saw some roly-polies. Yeah, there's a little worm right here. So with the little holes that you poke, you never know what you might find. See, definitely a little worm. So that'll be good. Add that back in there. Let's see. Not too bad. Now some of these leaves, in the other bags they were broken down really well. Now I can tell with this one, I know there was one bag that I didn't get to break down as much, and this must be that one because look, there's whole leaves in there. I have two different ways that I break down leaf. I use a leaf blower, and when it sucks in, it mulches it all up. And then also I use my driving lawnmower to break it up. But I find that the leaf blower does a lot better with breaking it down finely. Now you can see there is worms, see, right here. This is really great for the worms. They've enjoyed it, and allow them to go back in there. So this is 5 bags, and I've already used some of it as well already to cover up on top of one of my containers. I am growing potatoes in these 2 containers, and I'm going to cover the top with leaf mulch. The other benefits of putting a mulch on top of your soil is that it helps with suppressing weeds. Just spread it on, break up these pieces. Now with leaf mulch, it can get a little clumpy. That's why I'm happy it broke down. Breaking it down a lot more in advance is helpful, but it can get a little bit clumpy. And so you just want to check on that. The more that it's broken down really does help. This should do just fine. There's a little weed, take that out. All right, and I'll do the same to the other one. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. And there it is, it's fully covered up now with the leaf mulch. In this potato container, I'm actually going to add the wood chip mulch that has broken down. This area of my garden has a lot more shading. And so sometimes I see a little bit of algae that will form on just small, very small parts of the soil in the raised beds. But I do see algae in my yard in particular, and so I don't want to use the leaf mulcher too much on this side, because if there's algae growing, that tells me that there's a lot of moisture anyways that's being retained, and it needs to dry out. So this part of my garden area, I'm just going to maybe just use the wood chips instead of the leaf mulch. So basically that's it. That's all I had to do today. But if you have not started just simple. I know composting might seem daunting to some people, might think that's a lot, but just start really simple, really small. You might want to just start with just leaves and just mulching that in a bag, and just to get the feel of just the process of composting, or maybe some wood chips, you know, and doing something like that. But composting is a really great thing. You're saving a lot of money instead of going out and buying bags. Occasionally I do have to go out and still purchase bags because sometimes it's just not enough and I need more, but it's still, utilizing what I have has saved me so much money than having to go out there and buy bags or even getting compost dumped. I know where this compost is coming from. I know what's in it. I know there's no other materials and particles that's in my compost. It's what I made. And so I would just highly recommend that you do start composting and utilizing what you have. And if you don't have any materials like that, then maybe check with one of your neighbors or someone in the community that, I mean, around fall time, everyone's trying to get rid of leaves and things like that. I hope this video was helpful. And once again, just take a look at it. This is the wood chip and this is the leaf mulch. So, all right, well, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you have not done so, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. But remember to grow leafy, and see you all next time. Bye.